Hi everybody, it's Shuba. Welcome back to my channel, and if you are new here, thank you so much for stopping by. In this video, I am going to talk about all of the books that I own on my bookshelf that I have not read yet. Now, I am very excited to film this video, but also very overwhelmed since I realize I have quite a few books that I have not read yet. I feel like my bookshelf and all the books are just piling up. I'm hoping that by the time I finish this video, I get some inspiration with the books that I do own and find some books that I might want to add to my TBR for the month of May and heading into the summer. If you have read any of these books, please let me know in the comments down below, or if you recommend any of these books. I'm really here for some inspiration and some books that will get me out of a reading slump if I ever do have one in the future. Now, without further ado, let's get started. Grab your beverage of choice and enjoy watching. The first genre that I'm going to be talking about is fiction, and I'm keeping it very broad, and then we'll get into some other genres. This first book is Ghosts by Dolly Alderton. I have not read any books by her, but a friend on Instagram had mentioned that she read this and I really liked her review, so I wanted to pick this up. This book is from Rainy Day Books in Kansas City. It's an independent local bookstore. Now, this is a girl named Nina. She ends up going on a date with a man named Max, and Max ends up ghosting her, and I think this is just a story about that. Sounds interesting, sounds very character driven, which usually can bore me, but I'm hoping this will not. The Trial by Kafka. Now, this is a classic that I have heard about but have never tried reading. I got this book from Barnes & Noble in February during Valentine's Day when my husband bought me some books as a gift. Now, this is about a man named Joseph K., who is a respectable bank officer who is then arrested inexplicably, and he must defend himself against a charge which he can get no information on. He doesn't know why he's getting arrested, but he does. And what's interesting is this was written in 1914 but not published until 1925. Looking forward to reading this book, hoping I do enjoy it, since this is going to be very different and outside of my comfort zone. This next book is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. This is probably one of the books that I am most intimidated to read, just because it is so hefty, and I've heard that this is a book that will make you feel all of the feels, like every single feeling and emotion. You'll be angry, you'll be sad, you'll cry, you'll maybe laugh. But this is an epic tale of trauma and friendship written with intelligence and depth of perception, says the Wall Street Journal. I think this is just about 4 college classmates who live in New York City, and they're in search for fame and fortune. So I think it's just about them, and there's going to be a lot of talk on mental health and other issues that they do face during this time. So I am hoping to read this slowly, but we'll read it. This next book is My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh, and I have had this book for almost a year, a little less than a year, and I have not read it yet. I got it from Barnes & Noble back over the winter time, and this is just a psychological book that's fiction, and it is about our main character. She isn't really happy. She's a recent college graduate. She works and lives in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. She ends up taking a lot of drugs just to heighten her senses, and this is about her year of rest and relaxation on drugs, I believe. Sounds very interesting, character driven. We'll read it soon. Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. Now, this is a short story, and it has multiple books within this series. This is about a coffee shop that can take people back in time. I did get this from Barnes & Noble as well, and I am hoping to read this just to get into my fantastical, magical realism element. American Mermaid by Julia Langben. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This book is the book that I need to read for Rainy Day Book Club for the month of May, and I know nothing about this story. I did get this from Rainy Days. This is about a broke English teacher, Penelope Schliemann, is as surprised as anyone when her feminist eco-warrior novel, American Mermaid, becomes a bestseller. I'm feeling like Yellowface vibes, but definitely not, because this is just from a writer's perspective who writes a book. My hunch, I'm not sure. I'm gonna leave it at that. We'll keep going. The Great Reclamation by Rachel Heng. Now this is a book that I was so kindly given by Riverhead Books. The reason why I was given this is because the paperback just released and now you can get yourself a copy. I don't know much about this at all. It is a deep and powerful love story that takes place in coastal Singapore, and that's all I know, but it just seems beautiful, and I also love the cover. Call Me By Your Name by Andre Ackerman. Beautiful cover. I have not seen the movie, but I do own the book. I have just not really felt the desire to pick this book up. I can't even tell you where I got this book from. It still looks brand new, but I just own it and I haven't read it. Rouge by Mona Awad. This is one of my books for Aardvark Book Club that I did select for a month. I did read Bunny by Mona Awad, and that movie was just really weird in a way that I'm not sure I even liked, but I did want to try one of her other stories, and I know that this was a recent release when I did pick it up. This is a story about youth and beauty, and that's all I really know, and I'm gonna just go from there. Sometimes you don't need to know what a book is about, and you don't want to know what a book is about, so you can kind of read it blind, and I feel like this is the type of book that I just want to dive into. Clytemnestra, shoot, I don't even know how to pronounce this. Clytemnestra by Costanza Casati. I solely got this book from Target because of the cover. I think it is beautiful. I do love Greek mythology and Roman mythology and just mythological books, and I haven't read enough of them. I know I do need to pick up Circe. I need to read that, but I did pick this up solely for the cover, and I think this is just about Our Lady, and this is her story. This is a Greek mythology, and I am itching to read it. I think I'll read it this summer vibes, or maybe I'll read it next year when I go to Europe, specifically Greece. Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel. She is a South Asian author, and I grew up knowing the story of Kaikeyi from my parents' perspective, from a religious perspective, and she is said to be evil and cunning and vile and vicious, but I think this is going to be a story that says otherwise. I picked this up from Barnes & Noble back in December, and I'm just feeling like this is a story I'll want to read in the summertime. Still very much excited to read this story. I've heard nothing but good things. Also, I love supporting a South Asian author. The Storm We Made is a historical fiction by Vanessa Chan. This was a book pick from Book of the Month. I'm not sure when I got it, but it is from there. This is a historical fiction story that takes place during World War II, but in Malaya in 1947. That is all I know, but it says it is a dazzling saga about the horrors of war, the fraught relationships between the colonized and the oppressors, and the big ambiguity of right and wrong when survival is at stake. I picked this because one of my goals for this year is to read more historical fiction. I don't really gravitate towards that usually, but this is a story that really just resonated with me and I wanted to try it. Bright Young Woman by Jessica Knoll. I got this from Book of the Month as well, and this is a true crime mystery. This is a remarkable story inspired by real-life sorority targeted by America's first celebrity serial killer. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna read the back cover anymore since it is a true crime murder mystery, but I've heard mixed reviews, but I am looking forward to make my own assumptions and feelings for it. A sci-fi series that I have is a collection of these 9 books, the Expanse series. I read books 1 through 6, but I'm planning on rereading this series just because there's so much that goes on, and I honestly forgot James S.A. Corey is a dual author, so 2 authors. This is their pseudonym, and this is just a huge popular sci-fi opera that I'm looking forward to continuing. The next genre we can get into is horror or thriller or mystery. Misery by Stephen King, a very popular book. I picked this up from a local bookstore in Overland Park, Monarch Books, when I had visited them. This is the famous story that is also a movie that I did end up watching the movie, and I really liked the movie. So I'm hoping to pick up this book just because I've heard it's better than the movie. And this is about a fan of an author named Annie Wilkes. She ends up basically kidnapping the writer, and weird, creepy things start to happen. Like, Annie Wilkes is not who she seems. So, love the movie, excited to read the book. The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. This was kindly given to me by one of my dearest friends, Lauren, and she said this is her favorite Lucy Foley book, and I had never read it before. The back doesn't really say much. It says, meet the residents of number 12 Rue des Amants. There's 5 residents. Everyone's a neighbor and everyone's a suspect, and it takes place in Paris apartment. Sounds fascinating. I love a good murder mystery whodunit. If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. I picked this up at Barnes & Noble back in December. This was talked about everywhere on Book Talk and Bookstagram, and I had to pick it up myself. I feel like I need to be in the mood for it though. It says, there were 7 of us, and one day Oliver Marks is released from jail. The man who put him there is waiting at the door. So I think this is just a story about 7 people who are trying to figure out what happened in the past while they're in the present. I actually don't know anything about this, so I'm just gonna move on. Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Bazterrica. I picked this up from Rainy Day Books. The cover is beautiful. It's a very short story about a dystopian world in which humans are being processed for food and society is divided into predators and prey. Sounds creepy, but something that I won't be able to put down. I really like weird books. The Cosmetology of Monsters by Sean Hamill. This was picked up from Rainy Days, and it was recommended by Peggy, who is, I believe, one of the owners, or she works at Rainy Day. I know that for sure. She recommended this book to me when I was picking up Tender is the Flesh. This is about Noah Turner, who sees monsters, and Noah lets them in. That's all I'm gonna read and say. Something about exorcising. No, not exercising, exorcism. Like exorcism, not exercising. Sounds good. I love the cover. I think it's super creepy cool. Looking forward to reading it. I also heard that Sean Hamill is a really good horror author. This Wretched Valley by Jenny Kiefer. This is one of the books that I want to read in 2024, one of my anticipated releases. Now, this is a story about this group of friends who try to hike and climb an untouched cliff in Kentucky, and then 3 bodies are discovered, but then one of them is just missing. Dylan is missing, and so we don't know if Dylan is dead. We don't know if Dylan is alive. There might be ghosts involved, some paranormal activity, unsure, but I love a good horror, and this sounds great. I recently picked this book up, The Botanical Daughter, from Half Price Bookstore, and this just came out. It just sounded really fascinating. The cover is also beautiful, which is one of the reasons why I picked it up. This is an intoxicating hybrid of blood, botany, and old-timey charm. I don't know much this is about. It's a tale of family, fungus, and more than a dash of bloody revenge from an exciting new voice in queer horror. Right up my alley. I am very excited to read about spooky plants. The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Now, this is a novel that is very popular, a classic, I believe, in today's society or literary world. Oh my gosh, the writing is so small. But this is a story about a classics professor, a group of clever misfits at the New England college who discover a way and thought of life in a world away from banal contemporaries. This is a psychological thriller that I am excited to pick up. It's supposed to be very suspenseful, and I hope I enjoy it. I'm a little nervous, but I'm gonna try it anyway. Out by Natsuo Karino. This is a female Japanese author, I believe. I'm not entirely positive, but this is supposed to be a horror of all horrors. I randomly picked this up at Barnes & Noble. I looked at one of the employee tags where they talk a little bit about the book, and that is why I picked this up. This is about a brutal murder in Tokyo. So yes, Japanese author. In Tokyo suburbs, as a young woman who works the night shift making boxed lunches, strangles her abusive husband and then seeks the help of her coworkers to dispose of the body. Sounds very interesting. I have never read this author before, and I also just really like the cover, so I picked it up. Can't wait to read it. Probably this fall or in the summer. I like reading spooky things in the summer. Mother Thing by Ainsley Hogarth. I picked this up from Rainy Day Books, and this is about a sharp, crackling, sinister, and humorous story that is similar to Mona Awad's Bunny and Otessa Moshfegh's Eileen. Mother Thing is a fabulous, frightening story built from fine prose. I've just heard really good things about it. I also really love the cover. The reason why I picked this book up is because I had read Night Bitch, I think in January, and I loved Night Bitch so much, and I heard that this is pretty similar, and if you like Night Bitch, then you should pick this up, and that's why I did. Severance by Ling Ma. This is not really similar to the Apple TV show, but it kind of is, even though it is not, so I say it is not. I picked this up from Barnes & Noble in February. Now, this is a science fictional, should have put it under science fiction, but it's under fiction now. I don't really know what it's about, but it says, is it the end of the world or just another day at the office? So I think this is going to be a satirical story. It says, a spin at the end of times, kind of like The Office meets The Leftovers. I think my husband would really like this story because he loves The Leftovers and The Office. We both do. So looking forward to reading this story at some point. Deliverance by James Dickey. I got this from Barnes & Noble in February. This is the horror book that is also made into a film, and Mark, my husband, said it's such a creepy film. I've never watched it, but I really want to, and this is the book that is based off of the movie. The movie is based off of this book. That is right. This is 4 suburban men decide to embark on a 3-day canoe trip in Georgia, and then 2 of the friends are attacked by mountain men. Their mild adventure becomes a fight for their very lives. So this might be a horror in the sense of people are just scary and people just attacking people for no reason. This book right here. This last book that I put under horror is Helter Skelter by Vincent Buglioso with Kurt Gentry. I picked this up from a local bookstore in Lawrence when I had stopped by, the Dusty Bookshelf. This is just a retelling of the Manson murders. The next genre to talk about is fantasy. Now, these next 2 books I'm briefly going to mention because they are books that were published by St. Martin's Press, and I do own them, but I have not read them. A Far Wilder Magic by Allison Saft, and What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez, and this was from Book of the Month, and I picked this up from Barnes & Noble, I think last year. I'm gonna leave it at that. Bloodmarked by Tracy Dion. I recently read the first book, Legendborn, absolutely loved it, and I had to pick up this second book, and I got this from Rainy Day Bookstore. I love this story so much, a 5-star, and I can't wait to read the next book. Legendary and Finale. These are the Caraval series by Stephanie Garber. I got this book as a Christmas gift from my sister-in-law. I loved Caraval so much, I decided that I needed to get the box set and read it. I read Caraval in April, so this month, and looking forward to picking up Legendary next month. One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crows, this duology by Rachel Gillig. I picked these up from Barnes & Noble. I know nothing about this other than it is a fantasy romantasy that has to do with tarot cards, and I am a sucker for tarot cards, even though I don't practice myself. I just think that tarot card reading is really fun, and I've heard nothing but good things about this duology. I also just love the fact that it's a duology and not a trilogy. I feel like we need more fantasy duology books or standalone fantasy / romantasy. Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. I am currently reading Ninth House. This book is from Book of the Month, and that's all I'm gonna say. I'm currently reading Ninth House right now. I like it. It's a little bit slow. There was so much hype for it, and I think I just put a lot of pressure, and I put the book on a pedestal, and I'm not sure how I feel, but I am reading it right now, hoping I enjoy it enough to read this next one. The Library of the Dead and Our Lady of Mysterious Ailments by T.L. Huchu. This is the Edinburgh Nights series. I think there is one more book in the series. I've only heard good things about this. The reason why I ended up picking up this book and the second book, both of them from Half Price Bookstore, is because Reagan from Peruse Project, she had read these books and she really liked them, and I had gotten them in October during spooky season and haven't read them yet, but I am still hoping to. Hotel Magnifique by Emily J. Taylor. I picked this up from Barnes & Noble. This is a YA fantasy, which I have recently been enjoying reading, so I am looking forward to reading this book too. This is about two sisters, and there ends up being a magical hotel that they begin to travel on just for a better world because they're currently not happy with their lifestyle. Similar to Caraval, I think, but obviously it'll be different. All in all, maybe Howl's Moving Castle vibes. I think this will be good. I'm excited to read it. Powerless by Lauren Roberts is a very popular Instagram, TikTok book that I think she self-published this, right? This is Hunger Games vibes, trials, romantasy, where the male main character is trying to kill the main female character. I just know that I'm going to love this story so much. I'm looking forward to reading this. I picked this book up from Blackwell Books, I believe, on the line. I think they're from Europe. The 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin. I picked this up from Monstera's Books in Overland Park, a local bookstore. I've heard that N.K. Jemisin is just a really, really good author, and her books are supposed to be stunning. I've heard that this is an adult fantasy that might be a little bit more difficult to read. This series in general. I only have the first book, but I'm still excited to read it for myself. This is, I think, a dystopian story where the world is ending. It says it starts with the Great Red Rift, it starts with death, it starts with betrayal. I don't know, but the cover is cool. The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. I have had this book for quite some time. I'm not even sure where I picked this up from. I believe it's probably Barnes & Noble. I picked this up when I had started watching Reagan's videos from Peruse Project. She read this series and she vlogged about it and she really enjoyed it, and I want a Lord of the Rings style story that is not Lord of the Rings. So I had picked this up just because she really liked it and she recommended it. I haven't read it yet. I know that the second one is out and the third and final book is coming out soon. This year or next year. The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo is my most recent book that I purchased for myself, and I got this from Target. Look at this beautiful paint, and also the cover, inside cover, wallpaper, stunning. I need more pomegranates. I need a wall of pomegranates. Honestly, I don't know what this is about. I just know it's Leigh Bardugo and I needed to read it, and this takes place in the Spanish Golden Age, and it has magic, and I didn't read the back inside cover at all. I know nothing about it, and I am planning on keeping it that way until I read the story. No spoilers. But tell me if you liked it. Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. This is a book that I got from Rainy Day Books, actually. I have not read any of her books, but I've heard such good things, and the reason why I chose this book specifically is because it's a newer adult series that she has started, and I just wanted to read this book. I've heard nothing but good things, and that is why. This last book is The Starling House by Alex E. Haro, and I've heard really good things about it. I got this from Book of the Month. This is about a magical house. I believe that this story is going to be moody, dark, spooky, and really beautiful. It says, welcome to Starling House, enter if you dare. I think it has to do with dreams. It's a gothic fantasy. Can't wait to read this when I do read it. The last genre of books that I will be talking about is romance. The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I have not read any of her books, but everyone has been saying that this is probably one of her best books yet. I think this book has time travel, 7 years in the past to be exact. So I think that this is about people meeting each other every day for the past 7 years in the past. I don't actually know. I just picked this up because everyone was talking about it, and I'm very much in my romance era right now, and I can't wait to read this story. I got this from Target. House of Deceit by N.E. Butcher. This is a local author. I picked this book up from Undercover Bookstore. I'll correct myself if I'm wrong. It's a local bookstore in Kansas City. This is a cutthroat competition. Loyalties will be tested and bridges will be burned. All par for the course, House of Deceit. So I think this is something about a TV show, game show maybe, at the House of Deceit. I know nothing about it. I just heard that there is a little bit of spice in it, and I was just excited to pick this up when I did. And to support a local author. The Sweet Spot by Amy Popple. I picked this up from Book of Barnes & Noble back in February. This is about one divorcee, one social media disaster, one random baby, and 3 unlikely friendships. Welcome to the Sweet Spot. It's just supposed to be a really sweet romance story, and I thought the cover was so cute. It's mostly why I picked it up. Done and Dusted and Swift and Saddle, the first 2 books of the Rebel Blue Ranch books. I think that the covers are beautiful. I am not normally a cowboy romance, cowboy story girl, but I've just heard that these books are very good and I wanted to give them a try. I picked these up from Half Price Bookstore since they had both of them and they were on sale. Looking forward to reading them. I think I'm gonna read them this summer. It gives me summer desert country vibes. Say You'll Be Mine by Naina Kumar. I picked this book up from Rainy Day Books, and I clearly am trying to support more BIPOC authors and individuals. If you did not know, that is one of my goals for this year. And she is South Asian, which is another plus. I love supporting my South Asian queens. This is a story about finding love without losing yourself. I am not really sure what this is about. I think it is a fake dating trope situation. Oh, a fake engagement, and they just so that their parents would get off of their backs. The Prism Society is a spicy romance by Gabby Salas. I really like the cover. I picked this up from Undercover Books as well. It's a romance bookstore, and the reason why I picked this up is because she is a local author. That's all I know. And all this says is, what happens when you reconnect with the boy next door only to find out he's not the same boy anymore? Sugar Spice Can't Play Nice by Anika Sharma. This is a story that I got from Undercover Books as well. They only sell romance, so I went on a romance binge and bought a lot of romance books that I have not read yet. Shh, but I'm going to. It says, Pyle is a girl on the verge of living a life she's always dreamt of, becoming a rising star in fashion and of marriage. I don't really know much about it, but I am excited to read it and support my South Asian authors. You Again by Kate Goldbeck. I picked this up from Half Price Bookstore, and the reason why I picked it up is because I read Ready or Not and I really love that romance story. I read Out on the Limb, really loved it, but I wanted something for the fall, and I heard that You Again is just perfect. It is about Ari and Josh. They first meet and then they instantly hate each other. I think it's because they both end up dating the same person, but eventually there's chemistry and friends without benefits as they are, and they'll end up having to be forced friends to lovers is what I am getting at. But I think the cover is beautiful and I'm very much excited to read this book, more so in the fall. A book that I'm not as excited to read is With Love from Cold World by Alicia Thompson. I read the first book and I really liked it. What is the first book? It's called Love in the Time of Serial Killers. I did enjoy that one, which is why I picked up this next one. I got it from Half Price Books. But the thing is, I don't know why I'm just like I'm not feeling this. Also, this is very much a winter story, so maybe I'll like it in the winter time. It says she has a to-do list a mile long and falling for her coworkers isn't on it. Yet somehow he's becoming her top priority. I'm hoping that come December and winter, I will read this story, but right now it's not on my radar. How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kuang. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I picked this up from Target. This is a story that recently just came out, and I've heard that Tessa Bailey loves her writing and Emily Henry loves her writing too, I think. She's also a producer, a screenwriter, and director. And she was fired from Hallmark for being too hip for Hallmark. What does that even mean? Natalie Portman was on a Hallmark movie, Where the Heart Is. Do you remember that? Do you remember that movie? I watched it on Hallmark. Oh, she is adapting screenwriter of Emily Henry's People We Meet on Vacation. So clearly if Emily Henry likes her, then I hope to like and enjoy her book. Excited to read this. I just picked it up out on a whim because it was at Target. A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. I was recommended this book from a friend, and I got this book from Undercover Books as well. Haven't read it yet. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling. I've heard that it's very spicy and very good. It is the first book in the series, and I hope to read it this summer. Better Than a Movies by Lynn Painter. This will be my first Lynn Painter book, and I've heard that this book is just so sweet. It is YA. I got this book from Undercover Books as well. No, I got this book from Barnes & Noble in February. That's right. I recently got this book, and this book is giving Bridget Jones and Mark Darcy vibes. Harry Met Sally, Tom Hanks, and everyone. And then we have our main character. Her name is Liz. That's really funny. That's what I was reading, by the way. Anyway, don't really know much about this, but I've heard that Lynn Painter's stories are really sweet, and I just picked this up because it was on sale. Pretty Rings and Broken Things by Kat Singleton. I did read her first book, which I don't remember what it is called now. It's a billionaire romance story, and I went to Kat Singleton's book signing when she was at Monarch for this specific book, and she did sign this, and I got myself a copy. This was like my first billionaire romance story, the other book in this series, the first one, and I gotta say it was very fun to read. Not really something that I thought I would pick up, but I really enjoyed it, and this is a similar billionaire romance book that I will probably read. I read the first one in a whole day. It was so easy, so fun, so fast. So I can't wait to pick this up. This cover is not my favorite cover, but I love that Kat Singleton is an independent author, and that is just very, very cool. And she is from Kansas City, so we love that we're supporting our local authors. Now this last series before I end up this vlog is the beautiful, the one and only, you all must know, the Magnolia Park series. I specifically recently ordered the Europe edition. Are these the European editions? I don't even really know, but we have all 4 of them, all 5 of them, because Into the Dark just came out. The reason why I picked these books up is because I think that they're absolutely stunning, and even if I don't like them, I hope to just keep them because they look like pieces of art. I did read the first book. I'm not gonna talk too much on this because this video is already long. I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but I love Gossip Girl, I love Winter Hill, I love drama, give me drama. And I've heard that Magnolia Parks is just Gossip Girl on steroids, but in London. in like a London high society, and that is just very much Shuba vibes. I've accepted it and I love it, and I have no shame in reading these stories. I know that there's a lot of mixed reviews and feedback on this series and just how toxic the relationships are, but that's the thing. I just want to read about it. I'm not living it, but I just want to read and dream about it and just experience it with words. So that is why I picked this series up. I'm planning on reading this in June, this series in June, with one of my bookish friends. So looking forward to it. All right, I hope you made it all the way through, and if you did, kudos, thank you so much. Those are all the books that I own that I have not read yet, that I plan on reading sometime. If you have read any of these books and you liked them or didn't like them, and if you just want to tell me your thoughts on them, please drop it down on the comment section down below. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to my channel. I share videos once a week on Friday afternoons. Thank you so much for watching, and happy reading. Enjoy!